Pick and go. The pick and go is one of the oldest and most relentless scoring tactics in rugby. It involves a forward picking the ball from the base of a ruck and driving forward in a low, powerful burst, followed immediately by another forward doing the same. This cycle continues phase after phase, keeping the ball close to the breakdown and constantly putting pressure on the defense. And while it doesn't usually grab headlines for flair or speed, its impact on tiring out defenders and building momentum is undeniable when it comes to scoring. This tactic has deep roots going back to early 20th century South African rugby. Ferry Heatley, a pioneer of structured forward play, helped shape the physical style of rugby the Springboks became famous for. Teams using pick and go often maintain possession for long periods, slowly advancing up the field while keeping their opponents on the back foot. By forcing defenders to reset rapidly with each phase, it eventually creates cracks in the defensive line, either through offside penalties, missed tackles, or gaps close to the ruck. The tactic was reintroduced with serious impact in the professional era, especially by South Africa's 2007 World Cup winning side under Jake White. In the final against England, the Springboks didn't rush to spread the ball wide. Instead, they relied on their physical dominance. Schalkberger, Juan Smith and Bucky's Botha led the charge with relentless pick-and-go phases that pushed them into favourable scoring positions that allowed them to control the tempo of the match and starve England of possession. It also helped them win multiple penalties, which Francois Stein and Percy Montgomery turned into priceless points. The pick-and-go tactic is also a tool to close out games. When a team needs to protect a narrow lead, especially in the dying moments of the game, there's no safer method than locking the ball into tight phases and grinding down the clock. But it's not just the Springboks that have thrived off this tactic, because in recent years, Ireland and England have also used it in the final minutes to great effect, keeping the ball tight and frustrating opponents with disciplined recycling. Although defences today are better prepared, the tactic still works when used with precision, timing, and a forward pack that's willing to work extra hard. It's true that the pick and go is not the prettiest tactic in the game of rugby, but when used correctly, it's one of the smartest and most punishing ways to break down an organised defence and rack up easy points: the crash ball. The crash ball is one of the most direct and aggressive attacking moves ever seen in rugby. It involves a big, powerful runner receiving the ball at pace and slamming straight into the heart of the defensive line. But the aim here is not necessarily to break through with one run, but to draw in multiple tacklers, bend the defensive line, and create space around the contact point. When this move is executed properly, it forces opposition defenders to overcommit and open up gaps for supporting players to exploit. This tactic gained real traction in the 1990s when the game was becoming faster and more structured. It started in rugby league and transitioned seamlessly into union as teams began looking for ways to break tight defensive lines without complicated passing sequences. However, the true breakthrough moment for this move came when Jonah Lomu used it to devastating effect during the 1995 Rugby World Cup. His size, speed and timing made every crash ball feel like an earthquake, as even the most powerful and experienced defenders bounced off him. In the 1999 World Cup semi-final against France, Lomu received a simple pass, powered through several defenders, and scored a try that left the rugby world speechless. It showed how brutal and effective the crash ball tactic could be when used by the right player and with the right determination. While Lomu made the crash ball famous, others like Manu Tuilagi and Jamie Roberts built careers around it. Players didn't just run hard, they ran smart. They timed their runs, chose the soft shoulders of defenders, and almost always got over the gain line. That forward momentum created a quick ball for the scrum half, and it gave the attack a rhythm that was very hard to stop. This move was so effective that coaches began designing set plays around the crash ball, often using it early in the phase count to suck in defenders, and once the defence was drawn in, the ball would quickly shift wide to find space on the edges. In recent years, even smaller players like Damian De Allende have shown that with strong balance and footwork, the crash ball can still be a dominant move in modern rugby. Speaking of modern rugby, the game is getting faster and more tactical as the years go by. So if teams can develop different variations of the crash ball, then opposition defenders will have a hard time stopping attackers from scoring. In the end, the crash ball is about sending a clear message. It says, we're coming straight at you, we're not afraid of contact, and we're going to make you pay for every metre. It's certainly not fancy, but it works. The pods system. If you're looking for a smart and effective attacking setup in rugby, you can be rest assured that there are many of them. However, the pod system has to be in the conversation of best offensive tactics in rugby history. It revolves around 3 or more forwards standing in close formation near a ruck, prepared to take short passes and drive directly into the defensive line. At first glance, it may look simple, but it is actually quite complicated. This setup completely changed how teams build momentum phase after phase, and defences can get caught off guard if they don't keep up. The real strength of this tactic lies in how it controls the tempo. By keeping the ball among strong, close-range carriers, teams can recycle possession quickly and limit the chances of turnovers. Each forward in the pod knows his role. One is usually the primary ball carrier, another acts as a decoy runner, and the third supports for clean out or offload options. This means defences can't afford to commit too hard to one player without risking gaps elsewhere, because like I said earlier, it may look simple, but blink in the wrong direction and the opposition team scores. So as the attack keeps moving forward, the defending team is forced to backpedal and reorganise constantly. The All Blacks turned this tactic into a work of art in the late 2000s. Under coaches Graham Henry and Wayne Smith, the pod system became the heartbeat of New Zealand's play. Richie McCaw, Jerome Kaino, and Kieran Reid were specialists at reading space, carrying hard, and keeping the ball alive. Just rewatch the 2011 Rugby World Cup final against France, and you'll see the All Blacks executing their pod system over and over. They didn't blow the game open with flashy moves. Instead, they squeezed France with wave after wave of short gains, slowly wearing them down until scoring opportunities opened up. What makes this tactic so hard to defend is its consistency. When done well, pods provide clean balls for the backs and keep the opposition guessing. Even if the defence manages to hold one pod up, another forms just a few metres away, ready to go again. It's like being hit by a moving wall that never stops coming. The best part is that this tactic doesn't rely on risky passes or flashy sidesteps. It relies on timing, support, structure, and effort. With that said, the pod system helps teams stay organised, reduce mistakes, and keep constant forward pressure. When used properly, it turns simple short passes into a march toward the try line, a loose forward pod. A loose forward pod is one of the more modern and creative upgrades to the traditional pod system. It is set up by placing a number 8 or flanker inside the pod structure, not just as a ball carrier, but also as a playmaker. This small adjustment adds a new layer of unpredictability to the attack and forces defenders to hesitate before committing. Unlike the standard 3 forward pod, where the first receiver usually takes the hit, a loose forward pod gives the team more flexibility. The loose forward can carry the ball, but they can also distribute it quickly to the fly half or the outside backs. That simple option, run or pass, makes a huge difference. Defenders who rush up risk getting caught out. Those who stay back give up ground. Either way, the attacking team gains control of the situation. Ireland have used this tactic brilliantly in recent years, especially during their 2024 tour of Australia. Peter O'Mahony, their veteran flanker, often positioned himself in these pods. His ability to read the defence and make sharp decisions made Ireland's attack much harder to contain. In one standout moment, O'Mahony got the ball from the ruck and drew 2 defenders in. Just when it looked like he'd take the contact, he slipped a short pass behind the line to a charging inside centre who broke free and set up a clean try. This pod version works best when the loose forward is not only strong in contact but also skilled with ball handling. Players like Ardie Savea, Michael Hooper and Taulupe Faletau have also mastered this role. They create options, delay defenders, and give their teammates more time and space to work with. It's not flashy in the traditional sense, but it opens up the field in very smart ways. The loose forward pod is a natural evolution of the standard pod system. It gives the team better attacking shape and allows forwards to act more like midfielders without losing their physical edge. At its best, it turns structured forward play into a dynamic decision-making engine. That kind of flexibility breaks defensive lines and creates try-scoring chances where other setups might stall. Scrum Variations. Scrum Variations are one of the most foundational and tactical ways to control territory, manipulate space, and set up scoring chances in rugby. At first glance, scrums may seem like just a collision of forwards, but their structure, timing, and movement offer far more than brute strength. It all starts with how teams decide to build their formation and how quickly they can move from set piece to open play. The famous 3-4-1 formation, where 3 players form the front row, 4 take the second, and 1 player anchors at the back, was first used by South Africa in 1901 under the leadership of Ferry Heatley, but it didn't reach its full potential until Darnie Craven refined it in the 1940s. With Craven's understanding of timing and positioning, the Springboks turned the scrum into a calculated launchpad. They were no longer just trying to push the opposition back, they were trying to set up the perfect angle for their scrum half or fly half to strike with precision. In the modern era, the All Blacks brought the tactic to life in a completely new way. During the 1995 Rugby World Cup semi-final against England, New Zealand executed a near-perfect scrum on their 10-metre line. The timing, pressure, and clean ball from the base gave Zinzan Brook enough room to swing the ball wide. What happened next was iconic. Jonah Lomu received the pass, had just enough space to accelerate, and bulldozed Mike Catt on his way to the try line. Scrum variations also involve subtle changes in how pressure is applied. Some teams choose to wheel the scrum, rotating it slightly to shift defenders off balance. Others break off the number 8 quickly to catch the defense off guard. Every small adjustment changes how the opposition must react. This opens gaps or creates overlaps for the attacking side. While scrums are heavily monitored for safety, teams still use them as platforms to run well-practiced moves. A dominant scrum forces penalties. A clever one creates opportunities. With the right setup and structure, it can be one of the cleanest ways to open space, build rhythm, and score points. The Lineout Mall. Without a doubt, the Lineout Mall is one of the most effective and brutally efficient ways to score from short range. It begins with a clean catch from a throw-in near the touchline, followed by a tight pack of forwards binding together around the ball carrier to drive forward as a unit. When done correctly, it turns into a powerful wave that almost no defense can legally stop without surrendering ground or drawing a penalty. This tactic became more dominant after the rules allowed players to be lifted in the air during lineouts, which came into effect in 1999. That change made it easier to secure clean catches and organise mauls quickly. Once teams adapted, the maul became a serious threat anywhere inside the 22-metre line. England, under coach Clive Woodward, turned this play into a core part of their game plan. During the 2003 Rugby World Cup, England's forward pack became a nightmare for opposing teams. Players like Martin Johnson and Lawrence Dallaglio were key figures in building and directing the maul. Once the ball was secured and the pack drove forward, it took near-perfect defence to stop them. In their group stage match against South Africa, England used this tactic to pin the Springboks deep in their territory, earning repeated penalties and eventually breaking through. The Lineout Mall offers several advantages. First, it draws in multiple defenders, leaving fewer players out wide. Second, it creates a natural shield around the ball carrier, making it harder for opponents to legally reach the ball. Third, and most importantly, the drive can be redirected mid-maul, confusing defenders and creating mismatches. Some teams disguise the ball's location within the maul, passing it backward or even sideways while keeping it hidden. This adds another layer of deception and forces defenders to commit blindly. Once the pack starts moving forward, it becomes a matter of momentum. Few tactics in rugby give such high rewards from a set piece with this level of control. Even referees have to watch mauls closely, especially for obstruction or illegal entry, but teams that master the maul walk a tight line with stunning success. When built on discipline, strength and coordination, the Lineout Mall remains one of rugby's most guaranteed routes to the try line. The choke tackle. Now, if you're talking about one of the smartest defense to offense innovations rugby has ever seen, then the choke tackle has to be on top of the list. It completely flipped the script on how teams approach the tackle area. Instead of bringing the ball carrier down quickly, defenders deliberately kept them upright, turning what looked like a regular tackle into a strategic trap. The goal was simple: hold the attacker in place long enough to force a maul. Once the maul formed and stopped moving, the defending team would be awarded a scrum. That small detail changed everything. This tactic first gained attention through Ireland's national team around 2011. Les Kiss, the team's defence coach at the time, recognised how teams often fought for turnovers at the ruck, but rarely focused on stealing possession before the ruck even formed. So instead of going low for the legs, Ireland's defenders targeted the upper body. Players like Paul O'Connell, Sean O'Brien and Rory Best became experts at locking the runner's arms and holding them upright. They weren't just stopping the runner, they were trapping them. The brilliance of the choke tackle was in the timing. It only worked if help arrived fast enough to wrap up the maul before the ball could go to ground. Ireland drilled it repeatedly until it became second nature. In a 2012 match against Australia in Dublin, this tactic turned defence into points. After a series of choke tackles near the Irish 22, the team forced multiple turnovers and launched counter-attacks that resulted in clean tries. Unfortunately for the Wallabies, they simply couldn't adjust in time. What made the choke tackle so valuable wasn't just the possession gain, it also frustrated opponents, disrupted their flow, and gave Ireland control over the rhythm of the game. It didn't require big hits or high-risk steals. It only needed smart positioning, strong teamwork, and quick reactions. That being said, teams eventually started countering it with offloads and faster support runners, but for several years, especially during the Joe Schmidt era, it became a trademark of Irish rugby. The choke tackle clearly showed how strategy and communication could be just as dangerous as brute force. It wasn't flashy, but it made scoring for the opposition much harder and scoring for Ireland a whole lot easier. The Crossfield Kick. The Crossfield Kick is one of rugby's most daring and creative scoring weapons. It stretches the game wide open and punishes defences for collapsing in too narrow. It involves a kicker, usually the fly half or fullback, spotting space on the opposite wing and sending a long, accurate kick across the field toward a teammate sprinting into position. When timed well, it creates one of the easiest tries imaginable. This tactic didn't always have a place in structured rugby. For decades, coaches discouraged risky long passes or kicks unless absolutely necessary. But as defences grew tighter around the ruck and midfield, smart teams began to exploit the untouched areas near the sideline. That's where the Crossfield Kick found its home. Instead of trying to bash through 10 defenders in the middle, why not go around them entirely? One of the most memorable examples came during the 2018 Six Nations. Scotland's Stuart Hogg, known for his flair and vision, spotted the Italian defence pinched too far inward. Without hesitation, he chipped the ball high and wide across the field where Tommy Seymour was waiting. The winger caught it in stride and dotted it down before Italy's cover could even react. It looked effortless, but it came from years of training and vision. The key to the Crossfield Kick isn't just the accuracy, it's also the awareness. The kicker needs to read the defense in a split second and trust that his winger is already moving into space. Timing is everything. If the winger is too early, he'll be offside. If he's too late, the kick falls harmlessly, but when it all clicks, it's a beauty. Teams like New Zealand, South Africa and France have also used this tactic to great effect. Players like Bowden Barrett and Cheslin Colby have both finished tries from perfect cross kicks in major test matches. It's become a go-to move when the defense is slow to reset or when the attacking side needs to pull defenders out of the line. Crossfield kicks aren't used constantly, but they don't need to be. The threat alone stretches defences and forces them to cover more ground. And when it lands, it often leads to one of the most satisfying sights in rugby, a clean catch and a calm walk across the try line. The strike move. If you're talking about a well-rehearsed, coordinated and dangerous scoring tactic in rugby, then you're definitely talking about the strike move. It begins with a set piece, either from a scrum or a line-out, and uses lightning-fast passing, angled running lines and clever decoys to rip open the defensive line. At its core, the tactic is about timing, space and manipulation. When executed properly, it turns a structured play into a clinical finish. The backs typically have designated roles, often with one or two dummy runners drawing defenders while a supporting player breaks through the gap. These moves are not made up on the fly. Teams spend hours each week perfecting them at training. Each step is drilled with precision. The scrum half delivers the ball cleanly, the fly half reads the line, and the centres run exact lines with pace and discipline. The magic comes from deception. A strike move forces defenders to guess who has the ball and where the next phase will hit. If one defender makes the wrong read, the attacking team can slice through like a hot knife through butter. One of the clearest examples came during the 2015 Rugby World Cup when England faced Wales. From a simple line-out near the 22nd, England launched a strike move that had been practiced hundreds of times. The ball went from the line out straight to the fly half, then to the inside centre running at pace. But instead of taking the hit, he offloaded behind him to a looping back who had wrapped around the formation. That slight delay threw Wales's defence into disarray. Within seconds, England had created a 2-on-1 on the wing. The ball reached the outside man and he sprinted in untouched. Strike moves have evolved over time. In the past, they were basic switch plays or loop arounds. Now teams include layered options, backdoor passes, second line runners, and even forward involvement. New Zealand has always been a master of strike plays. From Dan Carter's era to Richie Mo'unga's current form, their ability to execute these plays under pressure has made them nearly impossible to contain when everything clicks. Even Tier 2 nations now develop strike playbooks, proving that planning and timing can bridge the gap between raw power and finesse. Simply put, a great strike move does not rely on chaos. It's built on structure, patience, and understanding. The most successful teams never waste a set-piece opportunity. They turn it into a scoring chance by using players like chess pieces, moving them in ways that corner the opponent, then finish with speed and precision. Counter-rucking. Counter-rucking is one of the most intense, high-impact tactics in rugby, and it completely changes the flow of a game when used properly. It involves storming into an existing ruck, typically as the defending team, and driving over it with raw power and aggression to win the ball or force the opposition into disorganized retreat. While it has always existed as a part of the breakdown battle, the modern counter-ruck has evolved into a dangerous weapon that skilled teams use to flip defense into attack in seconds. The beauty of counter-rucking lies in its timing and physical dominance. It's not about mindlessly charging into every ruck, it's about choosing the right moment, often when the attacking support is slow or when the ball carrier is isolated. That's when one or two defenders, usually the back row or an alert forward, charge into the ruck, pushing past or through the cleaners and disrupting the ball. At best, they win possession outright. At worst, they stall the attack long enough for the defence to reset. New Zealand has led the way in using this tactic smartly. In a 2019 clash against Argentina, the All Blacks used counter-rucking several times in the first half to shut down momentum. Ardie Savea, known for his speed and low body position, frequently spotted moments when the ball was exposed. With perfect timing, he blasted through the ruck, drove the attacker back, and secured turnovers. In one such play, after a stolen ruck near halfway, New Zealand spun the ball wide and scored within seconds. That sudden transition stunned Argentina and shifted the match. Other teams like Ireland and South Africa have also embraced this tactic, using it to establish dominance early. Pieter-Steph du Toit and Josh van der Flier are examples of players who thrive in those chaotic moments. What makes them dangerous is their decision-making. They know when to engage and when to hold off. A poorly timed counter-ruck can leave gaps in the line, but a perfect one can spark game-changing opportunities. In modern rugby, where ball retention is high and phases can stretch beyond 10 or 15 in a row, counter-rucking breaks the rhythm. It forces attacking teams to keep tighter formations and slows down their speed. That being said, it's not a tactic every player can use. It takes awareness, physical strength, and trust in teammates. But when the moment is right and the execution is clean, a counter-ruck is as good as a line break. It's raw, it's ruthless, and it often turns defense into points. If you enjoyed this, there's plenty more rugby videos in the works. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.